Hello, educators. My name is Matt Coleman. I'm an art and photography teacher at the Halton District School Board and also an innovation coach for that school board. I'm going to show you a unit of art that you could use for grade 1 up to grade 8, and it's called Monsters in the Making. It's based on Kevin Lyons' artwork. Kevin Lyons is a street artist that does kind of cartoony, cute, positive, kind monsters. All right, he's embedded in the skate culture and does these giant walls with these amazing cartoony monsters. And so we use him and his influences on skate culture and skate shoe culture to create these kind of cartoony, positive, fun, quirky monsters. All right, so that is the framework for the assignment. And there are a series of videos that you can watch if you'd like on that. Here's an example of commissions that he did for DC Shoes. So the goal is the students are going to create and to use that kind of cartoony style to design their own monsters, not exactly copying Kevin Lyons' exact monster, but using his elements of the cartoony style. Use some colored pencil, shade it in, and for the junior intermediates, maybe adding in a site-specific installation component to it. All right, so what I've built for you is a project framework, okay, and we can go through this together. And the unit is all planned out right from start to finish the play. The slide decks are all ready to go. You can grab it, use it, and it's great because it can be used virtually on an online environment and can also be used in class. So we've got play, experimenting phase, designing phase, the actual creation of the artwork itself, and then a document and reflection. All right. So as I said, it's based on the Kevin Lyons' street art. We start off with a whole bunch of play related to designing monsters. So there is one thing that is called roll a monster, where you roll a dice, and based on the number that you roll, you get a different body shape. And so kids would doodle this kind of monster, and they build it based on a random design roll of the dice. And if you don't have a dice roll, or if you don't want to share dice because of COVID, there's even a Google online dice roller where you can roll the dice online and get the number that you want. So there's roll a dice. Some other of the playing that you have are completing the monster doodle. And there's both a Jamboard version if you wanted to do it virtually and draw on a Jamboard together, or there's a printout version and it looks like this. These are borrowed from a monster doodle kind of workbook. And they're like half finished monsters that you complete. Okay. And it's just kind of like a fun way to start off the introduction of designing, getting imaginative and quirky with the designs of the monsters. All right, so that's ready to go. And in that similar vein, there's also a design a monster alphabet, where you have to make monsters that look like the certain letters of the alphabet. Moving on to the experimentation phase, this is a colored pencil technique unit. So there is some technique related to blending colors. Here's one example here of blending different colors in colored pencil like that. So there are 3 worksheets that they can use. If you're on the younger side, perhaps you're going to use the beginner one. There's the standard one, which is colored pencil technique, and then there's an advanced version too. The junior intermediates, they might want to be thinking about where they put their work. All right, and the primaries could be doing this too. But if I were doing this in the junior intermediate, I would cut out this design and think of like where specifically I would put it in the world. So maybe it's an art one, so I'm going to hide it in the art room, that kind of thing. That's called site-specific artwork, and so you're kind of thinking about and playing with where the location is that you're going to ultimately put your art, and then have it either interacting with the space or reflecting the space in some way. And one fun way to kind of play and experiment with it is something called eye bombing. You can use this or not. Eye bombing is when you take googly eyes and you put them out in the world and to make little fun humanized creatures in the moment. All right. So in the past, in my art classes, I've given kids individualized baggies of sticky tack and eyes and sent them around the art room, or depending on the grade level, around a wing of the school, and they have to eye bomb things, or we go out on a walk outside and they can eye bomb outside. It's a fun way to think about looking at at our environment and interacting with it in an artful, playful kind of way. And so that's in the experimentation phase. You can see at the top, I've got this kind of creative process package that you can put, and there's two versions, and they're essentially the same. One is without the site-specific component, if you wanted to use that for the younger grades, or with the site-specific component. So there's two versions with only one marked difference between it. Now, I recommended JI for the site-specific, but there's no reason why a grade 1 or 2 can't think about where they want to cut up and put their work out into the world. It's just leave that ball in your court. And this is what the design package looks like. So this you would print out and give to students, or they would print out or do a version thereof at home. So they do some monster doodle practice, creating some thumbnail drawings of potential monster designs, unique designs. They come up with monster names. They come up with a monster character, so you can build in some writing or some creative aspects there in terms of my monster is, how we describe them, and using describing words. The favorite thing in the whole world is they can't stop eating this. They love doing this. They make the world a better place. So building out the imaginative component of the monster that they design. And then one important part of the creative process is getting feedback on their work. So they're not completing artwork in a vacuum, that they are considering other people's ideas and things like that. So here's a step where they ask two friends for their ideas to make the monster that they were designing look even more like the character of the monster they are inside. So there's spots from friend number 1 and number 2. They would ask either virtually in a breakout room or face-to-face, what colors would they recommend their monster be, and get two different opinions. If they were saying something in a speech bubble, what could they be saying? What objects might they be holding? What shapes and details. So just getting feedback from two other people to like push their idea a little bit further. And this component is for those who are doing site-specific work, putting the monster out in the world. Where do you want to possibly put it? How is it interacting with the location in some way? And then here's an aspire to do for your those who are really into this. Maybe they create a series of monsters and put them up in the space and have a lot of fun with it. Maybe the monsters are interacting with each other and whatnot. If you've got those really keen artists who want to do more, or want to push this idea even further, they're not limited to just one monster as they go through it. So that is the package that they would put together for designing their work. And here in the design thing, stage, there's a slide deck I put together that talks specifically about site-specific art. So this is site-specific street art with examples that you can show them, and with artists that are using the environment to interact with their art in a cute and fun way. So here's Jan Verman, who takes cracks in old walls and then fills them in with Lego. Alex Menchikov takes these, the cracks in the pavement and uses them to turn them into the art and things like that. So there's a slideshow that you can explain and talk and come up with ideas with your students for site-specific. For those students who want to go deeper, there is a bonus slideshow here with some extra video tutorials, 30 monster doodles, 30 body shapes to doodle. So this is kind of like an aspire to do. Those who are really doing a deep dive and wanted to go a little bit further. And then the creation process, I've outlined the steps here. Creating a final design on paper, shading it with colored pencil, outlining it in a bold black marker in a kind of cartoony style. And then if you're going site specific, tape or glue the monster in a particular location after you cut it out. And you could, as I said, aspire to do multiple monsters. And there is a monster art checklist here that you can be using with your students as a guide. At the end of the whole process, that's the documenting and reflecting, especially if they're going out, say, putting their monster up in the kitchen or the playground or someplace that is site specific. You want to give them to do it, or with their parents' help, to take a photo of the work on location. And here is a process question, which is a great resource for getting them to reflect on their work. If you wanted to do one-on-one quick interviews where they choose 5 questions to answer, the great thing about that there is you see their thinking and their art making process right there, then and there, and you could give them a grade for their unit based on what you're seeing right there in the moment, which will cut down on your marking as well. So that is there. There's also a rubric that ties in with the Ontario curriculum, with the different thinking and understanding and communication categories, as well as the specific expectations that they are getting. And this is a Studio Habits of Mind, which is coming from the Art of Education website. That is really the unit as a whole is about the evaluation of them and their growth as an artist, not really marking their final product, but more the process that they're going through. So there is the from start to finish, there's a unit framework. This is all shareable. Use it away. If you have any follow-up questions, do let me know. I'm happy to explain something if anything wasn't quite clear or what have you. So hope that helps, and have fun creating.